Welcome back, guys. We're into August already. Where did summer go? Where did set championships go? I actually get to go attend my second one today, and it might be the last time I get to take Blurple to an event for a while because rotation is just around the corner. And, well, it's actually not going to do a whole lot to this deck. If you want to click the timestamp or jump to the end, I think Blurple is still in a very, very good position post-set rotation. I do have a sample deck list as of right now that obviously could change a little bit as more reveals get announced, but I think the deck is actually in a pretty good spot right now. I was even running it on lorcanatcg without the cards that are getting rotated out and doing actually decent with it in the current format. So I think it's going to work out pretty well. I had 50 matches so far in this set between my last set championships that I took first at and then grinding out best of 3 matches on lorcanatcg. I played in 50 matches and went 35-15, so a 70% win rate overall. 26 of those 50 were on the play, and I had won 20 of them. In other words, 77% on the play. And on the draw is 15-9. In other words, 63% win rate on the draw. I think that Blurple is a insanely consistent deck, has great toolbox, and it's very resilient, and it can play on the play and on the draw, whereas some decks really struggle to play on the draw. This deck is one that really does not. Out of these 50 decks, then I'm going to jump into some matchups. I'm just going to list the matchups here and overall record versus them. I played 9 Blurples and went 7-2 in the mirror match. I think my build is definitely better than the standard Blurple build, like head-to-head. Overall, between the two, I still like mine. That's why I'm playing it. But the other builds tried, true, proven, doing really well this format. So I'm not going to sit here and knock on it. I just think that it's kind of like RB Shark, but a little bit weaker in the top end, whereas my version's a little bit quicker and still has that top end. So I think that it handles those two decks in particular pretty well. And then we see Amethyst Steel PS Temple. It's kind of an aggressive deck, and I went 4-2 versus it. I think that's a pretty favorable matchup. Ruby Amethyst Evasives, I've heard that this is a bad matchup, and for a little while there, I actually thought it kind of was too, but adding in extra Iagos and some Peter Pans, you win the evasive battle, and this matchup really isn't that bad. I was 4-1 versus Ruby Amethyst, Amber Steel Aggro, and Red Blue Shark. I was 3-1 versus each of those. Then the bane of the deck, Steel Song. I was 1-3 versus, so nearly 2-2. That last match, I went to game 3, and it was just horrible draws 3 turns in a row, and all I needed to do was close the game out. Was really, really close, but at the end of the day, we lost. So we're 1-3 against Steel Song. We'll talk about that a little more when we talk about which matchups are good and which matchups are bad, and we'll also cover some play lines to go after against some of these top decks that you may be seeing. The Sapphire Emerald Cow Muses Songs deck, whatever you want to call it, I actually played against 3 of them and went 2-1. Amethyst Emerald Tempo is 2-1. Amethyst Emerald Discard 2-0. Amber Sapphire Aggro, puppy aggro, if you will, I was 2-0. Red Blue Items, I was 1-1, split that one. I've heard that's a terrible matchup. I disagree. I think it's, near 50-50, and well, I mean, in the small sample size that I had in best of 3, that kind of, backs it up. I had a handful in best of 1s too, but I'm not considering that because a lot of the time you play that first game and then you can drop the first game and win games 2 and 3. So I don't really put a whole lot of weight behind best of 1s. Chernadogs, Mushu, Blue Steel Aggro, Emerald Ruby Action, and Emerald Steel Discard. I was 1-0 versus all of them. Amber Amethyst Hyper Aggro and Amber Emerald Discard, Lemon Lime Discard. I was 0-1 versus each of those. So that's the 50 matchups that I had. Like I said, Blurple was everywhere except for at my locals, which I shouldn't even say that. 6 of us were playing Blurple in that set championship out of 26, and I didn't play against any of them. All 9 of those matchups came on lorcanatcg, going 7-2 again. So matchups, I'm going to mention the bad first. We're going to start from the worst and work our way up. I got, out of all the decks I played, I got 3 of them as bad matchups. Steel Song, this is pretty well known in the Blurple community. It's known that this is a poor matchup. Whole New World being able to just reset the tempo. They go so wide so quickly, all those one drops jumping into like multiple rhinos, things like that. This deck can be absolutely problematic to deal with. And when you're playing against Steel Song on the draw, you want to really prioritize. Like if you can hit the bell plate, that's great. A lot of the time I even try to dump my hand, because if I can dump my hand and get hit by Whole New World, try to make that Whole New World not hurt a whole lot. I know it's unfortunate, but like if you play the Tipo, you got to get rid of that Hades in your hand. Chris Oyola, when we had him on the channel, had a great point. Like, play your cards like your next one's going to be uninkable. Don't try to hold on to Hades for the long run, because you're going to get hit by a Whole New World well before you get to that first Hades anyway. Getting things like Monstro down can be really, really big in this matchup. Otherwise, Iago sounds great, especially if you have Peter Pan down, because you can slap it down, rush into something right away. But outside of that, literally any of their songs target it and get rid of it. So being a Vanish character, it's kind of weak in that regard. So going for those 3/3 or bigger bodies, though, like, which isn't too worrisome. A lot of our characters do have higher willpower. Like I said, Iago, unfortunately, in this matchup is really bad. If you can just start slapping genies down and castles and apply the pressure and be the aggressor, force them to really get after you instead of going wide and doing what they want to do, is going to be your best bet for winning this matchup. The next one being Sapphire Emerald, the cow deck, Muse's Songs. I did go 2-1 versus this deck, but getting down your castles, getting down your genies is very, very important. Here's the thing, though. Muses does so much work against this deck, and the card advantage you can draw. It's another deck you really want to try to like dump your hand, because they're going to go Clarabelle, try and load your hand up so that they can draw their hand, and then hitting you with like bend to your will. I went 2-1 versus the matchup. It's far from unwinnable, but I do think it's an unfavorable matchup, and don't be afraid if you lose more than you win against this matchup. Like I said, really trying to be the aggressor. Getting locations down in this matchup is very, very big. Locations is huge into this matchup. So that would be my biggest tip for the Blue Cow matchup. And then the last one that I got as a truly bad matchup or unfavorable, Amber Emerald Discard. Kind of the same thing. Like Muses just wrecks this deck really bad, hitting so many of our characters, Genie, Elsa, Peter Pan. So many characters are just in that zone where they get hit by this hard, and that deck just really wrecks it, especially when they have like Kita into the Under the Sea. It just completely board wipes you. I think your best bet is trying to go fast. You want to be incredibly aggressive. You want to play the aggro. So that's where like your locations here again is going to be helpful, but they have something like slap a Cricky down, and now they can just +3 to everything, crash your location pretty easily. Once again, it's another matchup that I would expect to lose more than you're winning against. Matchups that are slightly unfavored, not quite bad matchups, but I'd say less than 50-50. I only got one really, and that's red-blue items. Here it's, if you want to tech in like an item removal, a hideaway, a Cusco, something like that. Otherwise, it's just trying to go faster than them and trying to save your impactful cards for those Half Sharks. Half Shark is by far, in red-blue, the biggest problem card you're going to have to deal with. I know Tamatoa can be threatening, but at the same time, save your Hades for those Half Sharks. That goes for shark or item versions. If they get multiple workshops down and they get it rolling, there's a good chance you're going to lose in the long game. Do remember, big Sisu's a thing. Don't just overcommit your board and lose to a big Sisu. But trying to be the quicker, the aggressor, get a genie or a castle down on 3, very important there. Trying not to miss that ramp. If you miss your 1-drop versus deck, it does not matter whatsoever. We have some slightly favored matchups then. Sorry about that. There's some commotion outside. Some slightly favored matchups. Ruby Amethyst Evasive. I had this as, maybe it's not a great matchup, and then I was, maybe it's slightly unfavored. And after playing it more, you win the evasive battle and you can do really well. The biggest thing they have going, if they have a Peter Pan down, expect a Half Shark to come rushing in. That is biggest advice I can give. If they have Peter Pan down, expect a Half Shark rushing in. Check their discard often. See which actions they have. What's going to hurt you if they Half Shark into you? When can you force them to use a Half Shark least effectively? And then you can come back with like Crab plus Elsa, Crab plus Pan. Iago and Pan takes it out and your Iago survive, or no, it doesn't, 7. Crab and Iago, like Bell move damage, swing a Pan into it or something like that. Like, can you force them to use up their half shark quicker? But this matchup really comes down to win the evasive battle, and I think that's very realistic to do. The majority of your evasives, you can go back and forth with them and do it very effectively, and using your Hades on their half sharks, I think, does give you the slight edge into that. Red Blue Shark, I think it's like the item deck, but it's less consistent, so it doesn't quite get to the top end with as much card in their hand and grind it out as much. So I think instead of slightly unfavorable, you're slightly favored. Again, you go for that Genie or Castle on 3, try to be the slight aggressor, forcing their hand onto your board into what you can do is going to be a big benefit for you here. Amber Sapphire aggro, I think it's, instead of being favored, it's slightly favored, and that's because so many of their cards have ward. It gets a little more tricky to deal with, like your Bells, your Elsas become less impactful, Hades becomes less impactful, but other than that, the deck does handle aggro decks pretty well for the most part. And then Hyper aggro is, again, I got it as slightly favored because the majority of the time you're going to be able to stop the bleeding, you're going to be able to swing the match back in your favor. They're going to run out of resources before you run out of answers, but sometimes they just hit it where it doesn't matter what you do, you're going to lose that game all the time because sometimes they just hit it and they are gone. So then our favored matchups, I think my build compared to the standard build, I think it's slightly favored. I'm not even going to say slightly. I think that my build's very favored into the Blurple mirror match, because I think it's just quicker and it doesn't sacrifice that top end as much, a little less consistent, less finder, stuff like that, but it's a faster build, applies more early pressure. So I think into those is really well. If you play a build like mine, guess what? It's just going to come down to who has what. Because if you're playing the same build, there is no favored. You're playing the same build. Who's on the play, who's on the draw, who opened what, all those kind of good things. Purple Steel Tempo. Again, this deck can just hit it and go really quick, and sometimes they have what they need. Other times, though, you just out-resource them, out-grind them, going for like Bell moving damage to get rid of Calhoun's, Bell moving damage to put it onto like a Lawrence, slam a Tipo into a Lawrence to give it 1 damage, and then use something else to finish it off and take no damage from the Lawrence. There's lots of ways into this deck. Smee getting damaged, and then you just throw an Elsa down 2 more to finish it off. Like, there's a lot of ways to answer this deck and just grind it out and out resource them. You play it in their hand. They usually run out of a hand before you run out of answers once again, and you can play it out really well. Amber Steel aggro, going like Tipo into Crab, into like Pan, Iago, things like that. Like, you have a lot of answers. The biggest thing in this matchup is not letting them get the Rapunzel draw. If you can prevent the Rapunzel draw, like, watch which characters they have on board, right? Like, especially when they get Lawrence down, because like, you don't want to slam a Bell into something if you don't have to. If they have a Lawrence down, because then they're going to go Lawrence into your Bell, get 3 damage, play Rapunzel, heal it, draw 3 cards, and now they're right back in the game resource-wise. They're a deck that can really vomit their hand out very, very quickly. Force them to go dock into something crazy. I mean, I had an opponent go dock into Piglet, Strength of the Raging Fire, and then they just walked away with it. Like, it happens, but force them to do that. Just be really aware of Rapunzel coming down when you're challenging, questing, and sequencing your types of cards. Both Amethyst Emerald decks. Versus discard, I think your card draw is strong enough to outlast them and work it over. You get a better board presence. You answer their cards better than they can answer your cards. And the tempo version, again, it's you just answer them faster. It's like Hyper aggro, but they're not quite as fast. Things like Cloud Kicker, Lyle, Lewis, they don't worry you that much. I had players drop a Lewis on me, targeting my Genie just to make me crash it. You just sing Friends with your Genie, then bounce with Fox, or bounce with Fox, get rid of Lewis, do things around it that way, but you should be able to win those matchups both pretty effectively. Then Chernadogs, Mushu, Blue Steel aggro, Emerald Ruby action, and Emerald Steel discard. I felt like all these matchups were pretty favored. I only played them each once in best of 3 this time around, but overall I felt like none of them, even going back to last format, they all felt very favorable matchups. So that's kind of a rough breakdown on the matchups I had, where I would rank each deck as far as favored, slightly unfavored, and just unfavored, as well as some little play lines that you can go ahead and do with them. But we're going to go ahead and start talking about the tech cards, the deck lists, and then we're going to get into rotation, talk about cards that are rotating out. What cards are we going to lose, and how's the deck looking? What cards can you play in their place? So let's go ahead and talk about some of the tech cards then, because, well, there's a lot of them. You can see it on the screen when we're looking into your one-drop options. There's things from Diablo, Broom, Chernobog. These are the cards that allow you to draw cards when you play a character, when you quest, when they're destroyed, removed, challenged, lost, whatever. And they're just really good consistency cards. They're utility, but where the format's at right now, Blurple really doesn't need that one-drop play outside of like Bell and Popsicle. Going for that for your play one. Outside of that, it's really not needed a whole lot right now. But another one that I have tried is Cogsworth. And when you play this character, you can give Rush to another character. So it just helps you to be able to challenge into things quickly. Again, just where the format's at right now, I don't think it's really needed. Turn 2 is far more important to ramp on, so there's really not a whole lot of turn 2 tech cards that you might be considering. However, when we look into a 3-cost card, well, 3 ink is that spot that kind of gets skipped over in this deck because you ramp on 2. So then you're at 4 ink by 3. So this is more of a later game utility style card, and that's Madam Mim, Truly Marvelous. And she's a 2/3 uninkable card, but you can pay 2 ink, discard a card, and gain 1 lore. So this is a deck where it's not uncommon at the end of the game to have, say, 6, 8 ink. So say 8 ink, 4 cards in hand. You can do it 4 times. You can pay 8 ink, discard 4 cards, get 4 lore, quest for 1. That's 5 lore just like that. Or you play her, use her ability because you don't need to exert her for it. So having her come down late game can be very detrimental. You play her, you're trying to close out a game, you need, say, 3 more lore, play her for 3, then you pay 2, discard a card, gain 1, pay 2, discard a card, gain 1, pay 2, discard a card, gain 1, and all of a sudden you close out the game just like that. So that's why Madam Mim is seeing some play. Messed around with her a bit. Didn't really feel like she fit the bill and helped the deck where it truly needed. Goat. It's really nice to be able to slap a goat down and win, but Goat felt very win more. I felt like there was cards and needs that the deck had where it wasn't quite getting them, and Goat just happened to be that card to get cut. And I've messed around cutting Goat for like 2 formats now, a handful of times. So he did end up biting the bullet and going away. Merlin Rabbit, also one of those cards that just over time is kind of seeing less and less play. Peter Pan Shadow. I really like this card because it hits curve better than Peter Pan, and it also quests for 2. Otherwise, it's a rush 2/3 evasive, so it kind of fits that same bill. Differently, though, it came down to Peter Pan allows you to go Pan on 3, Iago on 4, rush Iago into something. Or you get to 7 ink, you slap down Pan, slap down Iago, rush Iago into something. Where Shadow doesn't quite allow that, but what it does do allows you to have it down, and all of a sudden you slap down a Monstro, and now your Monstro can go slam into a half shark, take it out, ready, and do all that kind of crazy stuff. So I do think Peter Pan's Shadow does deserve a strong shout out. I was actually playing 2 Pan, 1 Shadow for a long time and really enjoying it, but we ended up taking it out at the end of the day. Again, 4 is that turn 3 ink curve, so there's all kinds of cards that I tried here, tested here. Ben, being a 4/3 with support, it quests for 2 and it's inkable. So essentially you get this card down, it quests for 2, and he's a threat with 4 willpower to get rid of a lot of things, but the support is the thing that did it for me. So you get him down, and all of a sudden you quest for 2, give a Peter Pan support. Now Peter Pan swings for 6. That's a big reason that we ended up trying it out. Maybe it's one of those things that post-rotation, maybe Ben sees more play. Grammatala, consistency card. Kita, a ramp card. Scrooge McDuck, another it's a 5/5 2-quester, just aggressive, slam it down. Scrooge might get that play spot once we're past rotation. It might be my castle play spot. It's uninkable and there's no card draw potential, but being a 5/5 2-quester, Scrooge McDuck might fit the bill for that. I'm going to go ahead and be aggressive. You'll have Genies, you'll have Scrooges. You'll come back with one of them on that turn 3 play and see what you can do. Fairy Godmother, being able to give Challenger +3 to everything and it returns to your hand. I'm still tempted to play her right now even. Like in my last tech spot, I bounced around with what we were going to play, whether it was How Far I'll Go, All Is Found, Hades, Fairy Godmother, or the card I ended up choosing to run. I think she's just so strong. Like, you go ahead and you quest her, and all of a sudden, all your other characters get Challenger +3, meaning your Elsa, your Peter Pan. These cards can all of a sudden take out half sharks and do a lot. I think that Fairy Godmother is one of those slept-on cards that truly can shine. Aurora and Cogsworth, I'm going to jump over Baymax here for a second. Aurora and Cogsworth both kind of fit a similar need, especially in a steel meta. Cogsworth giving the resist and Aurora giving you that ward. Personally, I think Aurora is the better of the two right now. I've been playing her. I played her at 4 in my first place set championship finish. And, well, on Lorcanito, out of my 9 mirror matches, 4 of them for sure were playing Aurora, and I really liked to see that, and I saw some other Sapphire decks also putting her in there and playing her. I think she's just super slept on, maybe not as much now, but she's a very strong card, very good counter to the meta. I think Cogsworth also very good, but personally I take the ward over the resist. Baymax being an option to get lore instantaneously. You just play it, you heal, you draw, or you not draw, you get 2 lore. Being a 6 willpower 2-quester, inkable also just kind of fits the bill for a lot of, I want to just hurry up and win. I want to have a way to win without doing the normal beaten path. I'm not going to be able to quest it right away, so I want to be able to get lore and win anyway. Donald Duck, a 2-quester who helps you ramp. Gaston, this card is so close to getting into my final list. It's a 4/4 3-quester that lets you look at 3 cards and add 1 to your hand. That is so strong. This card, it was being uninkable, ended up being the main reason I went with my other card over him. But I think Gaston is an incredibly strong card, and if you're looking at Blurple, maybe you consider playing it. If you're expecting a lot of items or locations, Cusco, incredibly strong. The 3/5 2-quester, inkable 6 cost. You just go ahead, out it, put it in their inkwell. Just be done with it. Tamatoa, happy as a clam. Lots of players are playing this card. They like it. You recycle the popsicles with it, the added consistency, the late game push, and I understand all that, but I just felt like when I was playing it, I was playing a worse version of Ruby Sapphire, and I'm like, why do I want to play a worse version of Ruby Sapphire? I might as well play Ruby Sapphire at this point. So I ended up taking him out. I don't regret it whatsoever, and I think that it's why I have a good Blurple mirror match, because if I have a good Ruby Sapphire Shark matchup and this is a worse version of that, naturally I would have a good matchup into it. So I don't like that build personally. I think if you want to play it, it can do really well for you. It is proven, it is tried, lots of players do well with it. Just overall, personally, I think that it's not the right play call. Ursula, I was playing her for a while there. Lots of people were like, oh, you're playing Ursula, and she's incredibly strong, but kind of dependent on your meta. She can help versus aggro, being able to exert their characters, especially once you stabilize the board presence. They start top decking, you have her down, you quest. Every time they play a card, you get to just exert them right away. And if you start pairing her up with Elsa's, exerting 2 cards in a turn, it can be really difficult for your opponent to do anything. Grammatala, she's a 4/8 2-quester, and you get lore when you put a card in your inkwell. But being a 4/8 is just so strong. And at the end of the day, she didn't really offer enough to warrant being in there. 4/6 isn't quite as strong, but questing for 3 and freezing 2 characters, Elsa will always be one of those cards that you should consider playing, and she's getting reprinted, which means post-rotation, she's still up on the table. Maybe she comes back into the deck. I definitely liked her last format and this format before that. Maybe next format, it's her time to shine. Right now, I don't think that it is. Mufasa, a 4-questing 4/9 that lets you ready your ink and double up and play a lot of characters. I'm just waiting for the time that this card has to shine. I don't think it's his time to rule right now. He can stay on Pride Rock. I don't think that it's his time yet. We tried him out again, and it just didn't pan out. I would absolutely play Radigan over him, being a 6/7 with Ward. Yeah, as long as you ink a character, you don't have to banish him. Or not ink a character, ink a card. So put a card into your inkwell. He's golden. He's there. He sticks around. It's good. You don't play that many uninkable cards where it's not going to matter. You get them down. You ink a card. You get them down. Whatever. But you have it, and then it just works out really good. He's just 6/7 with Ward questing for 4. You're almost always going to get at least 4 off of him. And there's a really good chance you're going to get 8 lore off this one card. Some other 1-drops, 2-drops, 4-drops, things like that. Develop your brain, vision, nothing to hide, just consistency cards and nothing to hide, allowing you to look at your opponent's hand. Just gives you that knowledge to where you can kind of change up how you want to play your hand. Do you go for Sail? Do you go for Tipo? Well, I get to see your hand now, so I know how to play my hand out a little bit better. Hideaway, great removal for an item or location. Pouncing Practice. I think this card is super slept on. It was pretty good in testing. It's really bad into the late game, into top deck, into when you need something really good. But chosen character gets -2, which means you can lower their attack, which means you potentially survive. And then chosen character yours gains evasive. So you can weaken one of their characters, give one of your characters evasive, like a Monstro, and all of a sudden Monstro can go and challenge into a Half Shark or something like that. Everybody's got a weakness. This card is really fun in testing. Again, it's weak in the top deck. It's weak in the late game when you don't have a board. It's win more when you do have a board, and that's why it kind of came out. Some songs. Into the Unknown. I was playing this card for quite a while. It just felt bad. So many, like, the best uses for it were like Rhino, and that just felt so bad giving them 2 free ink. Bosses on a Roll was such a great consistency card. You get to look at your 5 cards. If they're good, keep them there, organize them how you want. You get a lore, and if they're bad, you bury them to the bottom of the deck, which just helps make sure your top decks are going to be better than your opponents. How Far I'll Go is a consistency card that also ramps you. All Is Found takes advantage of cards that are already gone and just helps you ramp. I just took it out. I actually had to update my deck list that I had and write in the card that I put in because we ended up taking All Is Found out. Sorcerer's Spellbook and McDuck Manor, rounding it out. Just another ways to pluck away and get some lore on your opponent. Trying to close out games. Overall, they did not make it into the cut. So that brings us to the deck list. And as you can see here, again, Popsicle is the 1-drop play. You try to go Popsicle on 1, then you pop it to play a Bell on 2. If you have the Friends, you get the Friends on 2 as well. Sorry, you play the Bell on 1 because the alternate play method. And then you sing the Friends on 2 while also playing a Tipo or a Sail and ramping hard there. Getting the 1-drop is cool, but you want to hard go for the 2-drop. The ramp on 2 is far more important than the play on 1, so just keep that in mind when you're trying to go and hit your plays. 3s. Bell is there for Popsicle. Fox is there for aggro, for bouncing Bell, for bouncing Elsa, for bouncing Hades, for just recycling really powerful late game cards. Crab is there too if you're against a very aggressive deck. You want to go like Tipo into Crab on turn 3. I don't care if you have 1 ink that doesn't get used in that instance. You play Crab, you play Peter Pan. That's your turn 3 versus aggro, regardless of the fact that you're at 4 ink. That does not matter. You play off curve in those matchups. Otherwise, people say crab doesn't fit the curve. Well, guess what? You're not trying to play it on 3 very often. Peter Pan you play on 3 when you're coming back with Genie or Iago and you want it to have rush. Crab, you play it on 3 when you're against aggro and you have a Tipo. Otherwise, Crab is a card that you play on like 6 when you can pair it up with another card in the same turn, or on 5 where you can go Peter Pan, play it, play Crab, boost Pan, Crab, take out half Shark. It's stuff like that. You don't play these cards necessarily on curve. Sometimes you pivot from that and play it differently. 4 Genies, 4 Iagos. We're winning that evasive battle between Pan, Crab, Genie, Iago, Belle, Elsa, Anna, Hades. We're going to win that evasive battle, and in this current format, that wins you a lot of games. And when you're not going evasive battle, you're against Amber Steel. Okay, well, now I'm going to slam down Genies. I'm going to force you to answer me. I'm going to slam down other things like Hades, like Monstro. I'm going to make you answer me, and I'm going to put the gas pedal down and just see what you have. 4 Bells, moving damage, especially on that Rhino, is absolutely incredible. You can go like Rush and Elsa into like a Pete or into a Smee. Following turn, play the Bell, move the 3 damage onto Rhino, and get rid of it that way. Anna is the card I added in last minute, giving the support, which means the +3, being able to do that for an Elsa, for an Iago, for a Genie, for a Pan, especially because Elsa and Pan you don't even need on board at the time, or Elsa if their half Shark isn't exerted yet, you already have Anna in play. You can play Elsa, exert their half Shark, quest your Anna, give the +3 to Elsa. Now Elsa take out their half Shark. In addition to that, when you play Elsa, exert their half Shark, quest your Anna, you get to draw a card because you have a character named Elsa in play. So this card is inkable versus Gaston. That is not. It's not a 4/4, but it's a 3/6, which is comparable in the fact that they're both very strong stat lines. Questing for 2 instead of 3, so it quests for 1 less. The support is a very good effect, and also the potential draw means that, well, it's also a consistency card similar to Gaston. 4 Hades, not much to say there. 3 Monstro. I was playing 2, but this card is just so good, and it feels like I'd see 1 to 2 early, and then you're ending up inking. I didn't want to have to ink them all. Monstro just very, very strong. 4 Sails, 2 Finders Keepers, and 4 Friends on the other side. 4 Popsicles. 2 Finders. I don't think 4 is way too many. You're going to ink 1 more often than you won't. And 3 even felt kind of awkward, but I'm also playing Castle, which gets you the draws. And Castle is such a strong card. Castle is so good. I've had so many games where I get to draw like 4, 5, 6 cards in a single game off of Castles. Like, you control the boards that you don't play Castle on 3 unless you're against red blue. Outside of that, you play it on 6 when you can move 3 characters there. You play it on 7 when you play 2 castles. You get the board state controlled and then you play your castle. If you're fighting for it and you might not control that board state, you ink your castle. You don't play castle on curve. On curve for castle means I can play it for 4 and have at least 2 more ink with the characters and the board presence to move them there. That is the on curve play for your castle. It's not playing it right on turn 3. So, rotations here. That means we lose Fox, we lose Crab, we lose Peter Pan. Belle is getting reprinted, so we still have her. Hades also getting reprinted, so we still have that. And then Friends on the other side and Popsicle, both as of right now, also going to be gone. Queen's Castle going to be gone. So key losses here. Personally, Queen's Castle. I think that's a huge loss. Most people don't play it, don't like it, don't want it. It's not that big of a loss. Popsicle is a very big loss here too, but the fact that we lose Friends as well makes Popsicle's loss a little less impactful at the moment. If we don't get Friends back and we do get Popsicle, I still don't think we play Popsicle unless you're playing Tamatoa. If you play Tamatoa, Popsicle is better. But as far as just Belle, what good is the bell play? It helps against aggro, sure, but without the potential to sing a friends, I don't think it's that strong. You can play Into the Unknown. That's a 3-cost song that you could make worth it if you so choose to do that, and maybe that's the play. But without friends, without Popsicle, I think Bell also ends up getting cut, at least the little Bell. What other cards do we have? Like I said, Hades and Bell, Big Bell, both getting reprinted. Crab going to be gone, and Fox is going to be gone as well. Well, a lot of people don't play Crab as is, and I thought about dropping Fox down. I like being able to bounce my Hades at the end of the day. So if I were to play the deck, what would it look like? Right now, I think this is a list with 3 Cogsworth, 4 Diablo on your turn 1. We need a turn 1 play, so kind of supplementing the Popsicle with the Diablo. Both get you a draw, Popsicle being right away, Diablo being a little bit later. Cogsworth helping to kind of fill that role of the Madam Mim Fox where it has Rush. You can play him plus another character. So like turn 4 when you have 5 ink, you can play a Genie, play Cogsworth, give Rush to Genie. You can play Iago, play Cogsworth, give Rush to Iago. You get the point here. You get to use him to help give Rush into your other characters to help replace that role of Fox that we lose. Tipo and Sail still on 2. Genie, Iago, both still on 3 because they're your 4-cost cards, assuming you hit ramp. Nothing changes there. Elsa and Belle, again, nothing changes there. Rafiki, Rush. So Rafiki is a turn 3 Rush, which once again helps replace the Crab that we're, or sorry, not Crab, the Fox that we're losing. But he's a +4 Challenger, which means the turn you play him, he has Challenger +4. That means he's a 5/4 the turn you play him. Assuming he survives, because 4 willpower is a lot. So he's going to take out any threat. He's going to take out a Daisy. He's going to take out whatever threat you need to remove. It's still a 2-quester afterwards. So I think Rafiki is just a real strong way. So Cogsworth, Rafiki really helping to replace the Madam Mim Fox. Again, the Diablo replacing the Popsicles. As we go a little bit further, Donald Duck kind of fitting in there as a tech option. Anna as a 3 of, well, the +3 support, well, she helps kind of replace Crab. It's another way to boost your characters, your Elsas, your Iagos, to dealing with your opponent, your Genies even, to get rid of those half sharks. In the evasive battle, getting rid of half shark is very, very important, and that's why I keep mentioning it in this video and saying it repeatedly and over. But outside of that, you still have Hades. Anna also offering a potential draw, which helps with the consistency a little bit, especially losing the castle. 3 Monstros, again, nothing changes there. The biggest things that we see we lose, again, let's go over the cards we lost. We already said it a few times. Fox, Crab, that hurts the aggro matchup. It helps getting rid of like big characters. Outside of that, we're not going to play the Bell because of the other cards we lost. So consistency, friends, and Popsicle. So we lose consistency and some of our Rush going second cards. So again, Diablo helps with consistency. Rafiki and Cogsworth help versus aggro and versus the Rush. Anna helping with consistency. Everybody's got a weakness, moving more damage, similar to Bell, and then drawing cards for it. Again, it helps with consistency, and also playing a third Finders Keepers over the 2 copies that we're playing currently, just helping you fix that consistency a little bit and be more consistent, fix the consistency. Visions of the Future, also another card to potentially help and fix consistency. So outside of that, we got Cogsworth and Rafiki for going second, and you got the Visions, the Everybody's, the Finders for the consistency. We also have Into the Unknown as another way to help deal with your opponent's board, similar to the Rafiki. So we got all that going for us. We're fixing things, right? We fix the gaps. We fix the issues that we lose. There could be new cards that come out. And obviously the other decks of the format are going to change too. So things will shift around. I'm not a big library fan. I'm really not. But I am a big location fan. And the synergy here with Diablo is very well known, and just moving your other characters there when you're going to be challenging into your opponent and losing your characters so you get to draw cards, replace them. I get it. 8 willpower, I get it. Especially without Crab, again, I get it. Castle is better than Library. You can't convince me otherwise. We don't have Castle anymore. We don't have Manor anymore. So Library becomes that next best option. And maybe we take these out for those Scrooges, like I was saying. But who knows? We'll see where that goes. Let me know what you guys think down below. Did the matchups help? Did you learn anything here? What deck do you like to play? What do you want to play? What do you want to see me play? How about the next post rotation? What's your guys' thoughts on it all? Like I said, I still think Blurple can do really, really well. If you stuck around this long, don't forget our 6,000 subscriber giveaway for a box of Fabled. Thank you guys for watching. As always, take care. Like, share, subscribe. Have a good one.